It's time to start picking raspberries. July the 26th. But before we do, we're going to check on the bird's nest. Going to see about slipping in this way now. Be careful I don't get stung. By stinging nettles, that is. So the bird's nest. You see, he's right there. Now it's tipped over because I moved the canes around, but it was standing right up straight. So can you imagine now, this little tiny nest had 4 eggs in it. But it looks like Mama was successful. The nest is quite smooth and all the eggs are gone. There's no shell there. There's no dead babies or anything. So Mama was successful on bringing out her chicks. As last year, I have my little hip trug that I put berries in. When you got high kicking area and small fruit, these guys come in handy. I have at least 7 roosters in there. I'm going to turn you off now and I'll let you know how much I get on the first harvest. Not bad for the very first harvest. I shall be having these for dinner. Raspberries, fresh off the bush. So, let's weigh them. "356 grams. That's 12.6 ounces. I picked an onion out by the front fence. The top had flopped over. He's 31 grams. I didn't expect to get very many strawberries at all. I think I said that on another video. But these are ever-bearing, and they're putting out strawberries, a few every day. So after another 2 months, I will have a lot of strawberries. I don't know, I think it's a little drier here this year. Not many are lost to slugs. And over here is where I was unexpectedly getting some more. But with all the other vegetation around, see, I lose the occasional one to a slug. I want to point something out here because I don't know if I can do it later. But notice, this is parsnip, and it's got light leaves. They're not really all that big, and they're kind of like, this is one leaf, right? And it's got 3 leaflets. But yet, I have several that are like this. Here's another one here. Another one here. You see how big and dark green the leaves are? So when I'm harvesting these, I'm going to have to separate them out between the ones with the big dark green leaves and the ones with the lighter leaves, and see which one I like the best, because that might be a separation due to genetics, and I'll end up with 2 strains of parsnip. Pea plants are still tiny, but the fruit is on them and it's getting full. You can go online and get a little thumb thing. It's like those things that the sewing people use to protect their thumb when they're pushing the needle through. But it's made out of silicone and it's got a little knife on it sticking out of it. And then there's a protector for your finger. And this is what it's for, harvesting this kind of stuff. If you remember the gloves I had with the claws on it, well, I expected that they wouldn't last. They'd only last so long. And the claws started to fall off. Fits perfect on my thumb. And I filed down the top to make this kind of sharp. Let's see what we can do here. And when I hook it in the top there, it doesn't hurt my finger, and they pop off real easy. Doing it just pulling them off has been much more difficult. So now I got something that I can really quickly harvest these peas with. I think if you did an online search for harvest knife or finger knife, you might get that. Another thing I need to point out for those of you who may not know, when the pod starts to go rough like this, then the pod becomes inedible. You can still open them up and use the peas like regular green peas. In time, the peas themselves will start to lose their flavor. Here's the pod of a California poppy. So as you can see, it's not a true poppy. It just looks like one. Anybody know what this plant is? I think it's a wild plant, but I don't know what plant, so I'm letting it grow to find out. Shasta daisies in full bloom. Kind of looks nice as you go from the Shasta daisies, and then it gradiates over to the pink mallow over there. The cherries are getting ripe. They're not all ripe, but I want to keep it out of the birds. And you see I got one pecked right there. And one up here that's half eaten. So I'm going to pick all the ripe ones now, and then of course later on I'll have to do another harvest. A little thing of note When I pick the cherries, I actually put my fingers up just far enough that I can pull them off, because quite often I can get the pit to come out, and that means I don't have to pit them later. Sometimes they don't, you see. I got this far without even getting on the ladder. Going to be a good cherry harvest this year. This is the first of the ripe golden raspberries. There's only like, maybe if I search the whole entire patch, I might get a half a dozen. But next week I'll be harvesting these. You'll see how many cherries I harvested now. Turn that on. 0. We got these from the first bowl. And those, get that leaf out of there. 1,446 grams, almost 1.5 kilograms. That's 3 pounds and 3 ounces. Of all the berries, these I consider the most tedious to pick. They come in big bunches, but they don't pull off very easy, and so you have to be really careful. So I've taken this stool here out. I can just sit comfortably. I don't know if this is the best way. This is something new I'm trying now, and when I get a little tired of picking, I can just sit back and relax for a bit. This is one of the situations where you listen to an audiobook or something while you're harvesting. I know I'll have to clean them out afterwards, but it's easier this way. Well, I'm tired of picking currants for today. I'll go out another day and pick more. This is what I have in this container. Just a little over 2 kilograms. Take about 100 grams off that, so about 1,900 grams. 4 pounds, 7 ounces, so yeah, we'll take the 7 ounces off, 4 pounds. When I get this emptied, I'll weigh it and I'll know exact then. Roma 2 bush bean. They are a wider flat bean. I have some that have gone too far. According to my research, when you see the bean, you can see the shape of each bean. Then that is a little too far. The entire pod should be flat. I'll have to show you. Let's see if I can find one. Okay, so now it's more this size. These have gone way too far. Now, this is my first time ever growing green beans. And so, like I said, according to my research, these have gone too far. I do have a bug that ate into that one too, see that? They're supposed to snap like that when they're ready. If they are premature, then they'll just fold over and you won't get that snap sound. And then that's what you see inside. And that is really tasty. Now, what the guy was saying, and I'll take this one as a example because it's no damage on it, that when they get up that far, then that's just the bean, that the flavor starts to change. Yeah, it's still tasty to me, but it's lost most of its sweetness. Provider green bean. They are much longer and they have a round profile. I really like them. I have this really big one. I think this is what they'll look like when they're gone too far. And I could leave this and just on the vine and use it as a dried bean later. But now I picked it. Cherokee wax. Cherokee wax, this is the proper size. The shape is probably just because he was laying on the ground. I think if their vines were held up, he would probably grow straight. It's one of those things I would say is not my favorite. They're quite edible, but if I were to be making choices, I would have choose one of the other two. I'm just going to put all the green beans in the one and call them green beans. Turn that on. 636 grams minus the 76 grams that the container weighs. I weighed that earlier. Or 1 pound 6 ounces.